All right. So when you are feeling down and low, one of the best things you can do is let your body help you kind of fake it till you make it. So if you're having some challenges with shrinking down into the heart at all, even if it's just habitual, even if it's just because you sit at a computer all day long typing away, and you need some energy to help you with the back body. So this part of us is back there. It's behind us. We don't get to see it very often, and it's difficult sometimes to access the sensations of the back body as well as the work of the back body to support us. We tend to slouch. We tend to hunch over. We tend to be very tight in our pecs and tight in our abdominal muscles, maybe weak and tight in some of those muscles where we tend to slouch. So, in order to hold ourselves upright, we need to have a lot of strength and stamina and support from the back of the body. And there's a lot of muscles that are back there. It's not just the muscles, in between your shoulder blades. You have a lot of muscles that align your whole spine, a whole grouping of muscles that align along the spine. Some of them are very deep, where they support one vertebrae to the next, and some of them are really connected to this deep fascial chain called the back line, where we have this synergistic relationship with a lot of different muscle groups to help us stay upright so we don't collapse over on our front. So we're going to work a little bit with those muscle groups today, in particular the rhomboids, which are the muscles right between the shoulder blades that connect the shoulder blades to the spine, as well as with the mid and lower traps, which are like little V's that connect our shoulder blades to our spine, but a little bit lower down than the rhomboids, which are right in between the shoulder blades. So there's a lot of muscles that we're going to be working with, but those are two that I'm going to try to focus on a little bit in our practice. So sit up straight and tall and take a moment, and just first, as you close your eyes, try to discover, what is it that makes you slump? What is it that makes you collapse on yourself? Is it habit? Is it fatigue? Is it the structural patterns of your day, the what you're doing with your day? Is it an emotional state of protecting your heart, or a sense of giving up a little bit, where we tend to just collapse? Um, is it an emotional state, a physical state, a mental state? So see, as you come into a good, strong, upright posture, does it feel unusual for you to hold yourself up straight? Do you feel more comfortable when you're slouched over? And when we sit in the beginning of practice for a few moments and become present, is it hard for you? Do you have pain between your shoulder blades or anywhere along your spine? Do you feel like it's deep work to hold yourself erect? So, whatever you're discovering, also notice as you are here, are you breathing? Do you breathe well through good posture? Or is it hard to breathe well when you're trying to hold yourself upright? Notice where your head is in space. Do you tend to jut forward with your chin or forehead? Can you drop back a bit so that you feel that plumb line from your crown to your tail? And notice the beautiful curves in your spine. Notice the space between each vertebrae if you can. Notice how beautifully, perfectly made we are to support our own weight, to support more than our own weight when we lift things, to support walking, sitting up straight. Notice the rib cage here. Does it move well with breath? Notice where your shoulders sit in relation to the rest of your body. Are they forward? Do you pull them back by squeezing a tight rubber band between your shoulder blades? And if you try to pull your shoulders back, what happens to your ribs? Do they jut forward? See if you can just begin to integrate the floating ribs into the body, finding that connection between the front and the back body, where our stability of our core can marry the stability of our back. When you find that integration, make sure you're able to breathe there, that it's not a lockdown concrete mode. Let your body expand on your inhales. Your breath moves, your ribs move, your belly moves, your pelvis moves. Everything has a little subtlety of movement as you breathe in and as you breathe out. So we've been sitting here a moment. How's the space between your shoulder blades? Are you starting to be fatigued? Do you have pain anywhere? Place the palms together at your heart and bow in. Take a moment to offer an intention. What's here for you today? What do you need from your practice? And let's release the hands and stay sitting for a moment. I hope you're up on something. And we're just going to take a moment. Put your hands, I'll move back so you can see me. Put your hands on your knees for a moment. And we're going to round the spine back. And then we're going to roll the spine forward. So kind of like a seated cat-cow. Just see what it feels like to move back and forth. Okay. Just see if that alleviates any tension that you're having. Can you tuck the chin? And then can you lift the chin? Are your teeth touching when you lift your chin so you get that stretch through the front of your throat? All right, and then sit up straight and notice, where you are on your sit bones. Are you up on the edge of something? Are your knees in line with your hips or a little lower? We're going to find a gentle twist. So reach the arm up, bring the hand to the outside of the knee, and find a gentle twist off to the side. So this does not have to be something huge. Let this just be a waking to the spine. Feel the crown lift and the sit bones drop. Are you still aligned over your pelvis? And then come back to center. Change sides, arm up in the air, bring it to the outside of the knee, and find yourself into a twist on the side. How's your breathing? Drop your shoulders, allow your collarbones to open, the heads of the arm bones stay back. Are you evenly rooted on both sit bones? And then come back to center. And then bring your knees into your chest and just round forward a little bit, tuck your chin toward your chest. And then go ahead and lift yourself up from here. And let's find our way onto our back. Okay. So lie down. Really decide, what is it that you need an open chest for? When you communicate with the people that you love, or just a stranger that you're, paying grocery money to. What does happen when you keep an open heart, when you keep a vulnerable, spacious, courageous, open to possibility heart? Okay, let's rock a little bit, shifting from side to side. Bring those knees into the chest and just feel the back relax a bit. We're going to be working with strengthening the back line of the body. And really the back line of the body fascially connects the tops of your eyebrows all the way up over your head, down your back, down your glutes, down the hamstrings, backs of the legs, all the way to the soles of the feet and the bottom of the toes. So imagine as you stretch your legs straight now on the floor, that full line in the back body, where you can really influence one part of the back line by creating tension or length in a different part of the back line. Okay, stretch your arms over your head. Feel that little bit of back bend start to come into the body. Stretch the left side, stretch the right side. Enjoy the opening through the rims of your body. And just really enjoy. What does it feel like when you wake yourself up a little bit? Notice if your ribs are sticking out. And then bring the knees back in, chin up, chest up. And then we're going to move into some starfishes. So go ahead and spread your limbs wide out on the floor. And then exhale, knees and chest in. Open yourself out. Spreading out your limbs while you're out there. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. And then exhale and draw in. Let's do it one more time. While you're out there, squeeze what you have available to squeeze. So squeeze your legs, your glutes, your core, your shoulders, your arms. Stretch out your fingers and your toes. Squeeze your face. And then go ahead and relax that and melt everything onto the ground. Feel yourself drop. All right, bring your knees into your chest. Take a deep breath in, and as you pick up your head, breath all the way out. Squeeze here, squeeze your face, squeeze your core, your chest, and then relax and melt over onto your side. Come up onto your hands and your knees, finding your way onto all fours. Okay. And then let's start to begin some cat-cows, arching and rounding the spine, taking your time to notice your vertebrae. How's your body moving today? Have you moved your body yet today, or have you been still? Discover your breath over and over, such a huge component of everything we do. All right, so feel free to move things around. You can wiggle, you can sway, you can swish, you can do any kind of movement pattern that really helps you wake up your spine. And then always remember, you can come onto fists if you need to instead of hands, or you can put your forearms onto blocks if you need some support. So find a straight spine for a moment. You don't have to erase all your curves, but find that neutral spine. And we're just going to have a moment of pushing the floor away, feeling the shoulder blades retract away from each other. Notice your pecs probably working here. And then release your shoulder blades toward each other. Hug your shoulder blades toward each other and notice what's happening here. And just go back and forth a little bit, noticing how much mobility your shoulder blades have, and is your right matching your left? All right, and then stretch back towards child's pose and relax for a moment. Decide where you want your arms to be. If they're comfortable overhead, feel free to stretch them overhead. If you need a different position, take a different position. Find your breath, breathe all the way down the spine. Walk the hands over to the right side of the body, feeling some openness, some drop through the pelvis. Relax your forehead. And then come back to center and stretch over to the other side. Feeling some weight come down into the hips. Relax your forehead. Breathing deeply in, deep, breathing deeply out. And then come back to center. Our warm-up twist that we usually do, bring your arm in front of you and then up in the air. And then swing that shoulder down and find a twist. So focus specifically on that space between the shoulder blades. Can you get some opening in the mid and low traps and the rhomboids here? Feel the sense of softness come into your neck. So gaze down or move your neck around until you're soft and not utilizing your upper traps for this pose. All right, and then relax and go ahead and set yourself back. So don't bring your arm out yet. Just set yourself back towards child's pose. And the arm is underneath you and just stretching the outside of your shoulder, the outside of your rotator cuff. Chest is broad, collarbone's broad. And then release that. Shrug your shoulder up, bring it in the air. Hand in the air and place the hand down. Other side, arm coming up. Swing that arm underneath, finding a stretch between your shoulder blades here. We're going to be working with strengthening this area a little bit, so just feel it begin to open, warm up some of those fibers. Oftentimes, our mid and low traps are held eccentrically, in an eccentric contraction where they're when we round our spine, those muscles lengthen because our shoulder blades pull apart from each other a little bit. And those muscles have to hold us upright from this lengthened position. And that can really be hard on muscles. They like to be concentrically contracted. So we're going to work a little bit trying to access that concentric versus eccentric contraction when we work in our practice today. Take a deep breath in, lift that arm out a little bit, stretch your hips back towards child's pose so our collarbones are broad. We're facing the floor with our chest. The arm is still underneath us. Just stretch the outside of the shoulder a little bit. Breathing well. And then relax and melt. Reach that arm up in the air. Place the hand down onto the ground. Okay, let's come up into dog pose. Now, with dog pose, if you tend to collapse, if you're very flexible in particular, it's easy to just sink into the shoulder joints and feel them kind of fold toward the floor. So lift under the armpits. Try not to do that. See if you can lift under the armpits a bit and stretch your spine up toward the pelvis. Feel the shoulder blades glide a little bit on the rib cage without losing that integrity underneath your armpits. Extend through the spine. Feel the sit bones lift and widen. The legs can pedal or do anything that you want them to do to start opening that back line of the body. See what it feels like to spread the bones of your feet. Feel that connection from the fascia in the bottom of your feet, up through the Achilles, through the calves, up all the way through the hamstrings to the sit bones, lengthening through your spine, wrapping down to your head over your eyebrows. Feel that full back line. And then walk your feet forward, come into Uttanasana and fold a bit. Feel free to roll around in your shoulders, wag your tail, free things up. Inhale for a halfway lift. The spine grows here. Exhale and melt back down. Push off your feet. Rise up, arms coming to the sky if it's comfortable. You decide where your arms want to be. Stretch open. Lean back just a little bit. And then relax. Bring your arms down at your sides. So the first thing we're going to focus on here is integrating the floating ribs into the body. So notice when you come into lifting your arms overhead or out or wherever kind of gives you that big open heart feeling, what happens to those floating ribs? Do they stick right out? You know, is your tendency to open your chest from your rib cage pushing outward in the front? So notice that, and then see if you can still keep the chest open, but integrate the floating ribs down into the body a little bit more. So our core is activated. We're feeling those chains of connection from our shoulders to our pelvis. Find your breath. Can you still have this big open heart, soft, big open heart, and integrate the ribs into the body? Inner spiral the thighs a little bit. Feel your feet, soften your knees. Notice if your upper chaps start to fatigue at all. Breathe. All right, and then relax and fold forward. Let your arms hang out in front of you and relax. Grab onto one elbow and then the other. And let the spine lengthen a little bit here. See if you can feel some length, feel some space. Bend your knees. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale and melt back down. Step back to a lunge. Right foot forward, left foot is back. Finding the breath, opening up the hip flexors, opening up the hamstrings, going back and forth a little bit, just feeling that movement potential in the body as we bend in front and straighten that front knee. Make sure no matter what you're doing, you are breathing. Okay, so stay present with your breath. All right, let's walk the back foot in some. Take the blocks as high as you want them to be. Tuck your chin toward your chest and feel a little bit of a stretch through that back line of the body. Lift your toes, your front foot, your right foot. Lift your toes up off the floor. Tuck your chin toward your chest. And then come back to a lunge. Take your foot back there. Rise up, crescent lunge. So open yourself up. Here we are with our rib cage again. Do you tend to push and flare the ribs open? Can you have a sense of integrating, knitting the ribs without losing the capacity to move your diaphragm? So it's hard sometimes to find both stability and freedom. So we want the freedom to breathe. We want the freedom for our diaphragm to be able to move, but we want to knit the torso to the pelvis a little bit. Arms can go anywhere you want them to be. So opening up, finding the breath, and then exhale and reach your hands back down. Walk the back foot forward, fold. Inhale for a halfway lift, sit bones are high. Exhale and melt back down. Left foot forward, right foot back, lunging. Feel the chest broaden here. Start to open the hip flexors of that right leg. Find your breath. And then let's go ahead and square the hips and begin to bend and straighten the front knee. So enjoy being in your body. Enjoy the feelings, the sensations that your body is giving you. If you can stay integrated, that you are both the observer of sensation as well as the sensation itself. And then when you're ready, walk the back foot in some, so you're in Parsvottanasana legs. Hands can come higher. You can even put one block on top of the other, so you have as much height as you want. Square hips, inner spiral thighs, lengthen spine. First, start bringing the big toe down into the floor and reaching the hip back. And then once you feel stable, lift the front toes off the ground. Stretch your spine, and then tuck your chin toward your chest. Not everything's about the shoulder blades. We want to feel the sensations of the whole back line of the body. Step your back foot back a little further and come up to crescent lunge. Choose maybe a different position with your arms now. No matter what you did before, what can you do? So we haven't really, gotten into the shoulder blade sensations yet, but first just integrate the rib cage. See what it feels like no matter what position you're choosing with the arms. Can you have a sense of stability of integrating the ribs? Notice where this might cut off your breath. See what you can do to loosen things up so that the movement of your body is available, the movement of your rib cage is available for breathing, but you're staying on those exhales, integrating and integrating. Feel the roots drop down into the earth with your feet. And then go ahead and relax the hands back down onto the earth, back onto all fours. You go. Okay. Find the breath. Stretch your right leg straight back behind you and feel the integrity from your foot to your spine. And then bring the other arm out in front of you and start to feel that full back line as it crosses. We have two sides of the back line and we're now crossing from one side to the other. So see what it feels like to connect from, the shoulder to the hip all the way to the foot in the air. Start to integrate the ribs now. See what it feels like to marry the front and back body to each other. What muscles are you using to hold yourself up here? And then release that hand and knee down onto the ground and change sides. Start with your leg. There are big muscles here, so feel your glutes and your hamstrings. Feel all the way down to your foot. You might even want to point your toe. Oftentimes we flex our foot in this, but maybe point your toe so you can feel the connection of that full back line. When you're ready, stretch to your right arm out in front of you. Find your breath. Integrate the ribs. How are you doing here? What muscles can you find in the back of your body? Explore what sensations you're feeling and what sensations you're not feeling. Are there any gaps in the chain? And then place that hand and knee back down onto the ground. Let's go ahead and step back to a plank. Hold steady now. So those shoulder blades probably want to pull apart from each other because our pecs are strong compared to our back body. See what you can do to under rely on your pecs and start to more rely on the back, the shoulder blades, the rotator cuffs, the muscles between your shoulder blades. Integrate the ribs. All right, let's come down onto the ground. Lie on your belly. Take your arms. First, let's just warm up with the Gentle Cobra. So take your hands, your fingertips are in line with your nipples. Find your way up and then find your way down. before you come up again, integrate the core. Feel all the muscles in your lower abdomen that we work with a lot, but also integrate, knit those floating ribs and find your way up again. And then exhale and come down. All right, so let's have our fingertips on the ground, slightly forward, and just slightly forward of your shoulders. We're out to the sides pretty good here. Drop the shoulder blades down the back and just have a slight hug of the shoulder blades in toward each other. And then relax your arms, your elbows come down onto the ground. See if you can integrate dropping your shoulder blades down the back a little bit. See if you can set your shoulders up on a shelf so that we're lifting them up away from the ground and down the back just a little bit. So we're not losing and collapsing toward the floor. Find the stability of your core. So deep, low core too. So feel your transverse abdominis, knit those floating ribs in. Take a deep breath in. Keep your head down and just hover your arms off the floor. Find your breath. What muscles go first? If you're an upper trap kind of person and upper traps just like to do everything, you might feel that your upper traps are working hard. If you tend to overdo your lats, you might feel your lats trying to do all the work. And then rest and come back down. We're going to repeat this a little bit, but come up onto all fours for a moment. We're going to take our left hand down into the earth. Yield here. Remember, you can always take a fist or a forearm. I know we're on our hands a fair amount today. And we're going to bring the arm out. Actually, you know what? Let's stand up. Let's do this first this way. Okay, come up to stand. We're going to do it bilaterally first. So take your hands in front of you. I always forget in ballet what position this is with the hands, but there's, this position, and this position. So hands come out in front of you. Not that I've ever done ballet ever, but I know a little bit about it. So drop the shoulder blades down the back. Open the chest and see if you can stay integrated with the ribs. Notice how much your pecs have to work for this pose. You can even feel them. You can put your hands on your pecs and notice that there's so much work here. Okay, so as we start to open our hands out, what can you do to completely relax the pecs? Relax the pecs entirely. They're not holding you up anymore. And as you start to bring your arms wider, palms are still loosely facing each other, start to feel the back body engage. Finding the shoulder blades now, finding the integration of the ribs. Let's just see what it feels like to not rely on the pecs to hold you here. And then rely on the pecs. Okay, everybody take your pecs into the picture and notice what just shifted. Did you lose your whole back body? So get rid of the pecs for a moment. Rely on your back body to hold you. And then let's go ahead and melt your arms, wiggle, sway, and come back down onto all fours. Now we're going to do this one-sided. So take a deep breath, and we're going to lift our arm out to the side, kind of like we were just doing with two hands, but I want you to be quite passive, like you can dangle your fingers so that you're not relying on the pec at all. And I want you to imagine a puppet string from your elbow to your spine, straight across from elbow to spine. What muscle is going to lift that shoulder blade toward the spine here? And you can change the position of your arm, whatever's going to help you catch that wave of not using your pecs to do the action, not using your deltoids to do the action, but using those deeper muscles along the spine to integrate the elbow to the back. And then release and relax that and come to the other side. And your arm can be anywhere it wants. If you want it higher up toward your head, lower down toward your hip, find a comfortable place to begin, and then puppet string that elbow to the spine and see what you can find without using your deltoids, without using your pecs. See if you can keep them a little bit more passive as you lift the elbow toward the spine. Shoulder blade's gonna move. And notice if you have more, and you can go back and forth a little bit, just notice if you have more access on one side versus the other. Okay. All right, relax that. Come down onto the ground. Roll your shoulders a few times, shoulders up toward ears, up toward the sky, and back down again. And now we're going to take our hands like a V. So elbows are near rib cage. They don't have to be touching rib cage. They can be a little further out, but they're not. We're not cactus. Our elbows are lower than a cactus. Take a deep breath in, and we're going to keep our head down for this first one, and just see if you can feel the connection of bringing your shoulder blades toward your spine without relying on the outer muscles, your deltoids, your lats, even your pecs. See if you can just rely on that back line to hug you in. And then release. Let's repeat a couple times. Decide where you want to breathe. How is the integration of your ribs going? And now to really access the lower traps, when you lift up, bring your elbows, we're going to bring our elbows a little bit lower now. So I feel like I'm in the letter W now with my body instead of just a V. And we're going to lift your elbows up. Feel those muscles along the low to mid back and relax. Try it. If your head is not happy on the floor, support it on the edge of a blanket or the edge of a block so that you have a loose neck. We don't want our upper traps to take over for our lower traps. Upper traps are just so eager. They like to do everything. So give them the break. Feel lower traps. And so just up and down a few times. Integrate the floating ribs. Integrate the pelvis. See if you can sense those very specific muscles. Relax the back of your deltoids. Try not to lift with your arms. Lift your arms with your back instead of lifting your arms with your arms. Imagine your arms are totally passive. So now relax for a minute, and we're going to bring our arms in the same position but down onto the ground. So give way. We're not going to lift our arms. We're just like relaxing them all the way to the floor. And then feel those muscles between the shoulder blades. Try to lift the arms up without the arms helping any bit at all. All right, and then release and relax. Come up onto all fours, stretch back to child's pose, and then find your way all the way to dog pose. Lengthen through the spine, deepen your breath. What would it feel like to integrate some of those muscles that we just worked so deeply with? Breathing fully. Right leg lifting up in the air. Exhale, swing that foot through. Find your way up to Virabhadrasana 1, so the back heel comes down onto the ground. Reach your arms forward for a moment, lean forward, decide if your core can stabilize and your ribs can integrate, and if not, make a different choice. Find what you can find in that long lever as you lift up to feel those lower traps and the muscles along your spine. Integrate the front body. What can you do to relax the shoulders? That you don't have to rely on the upper traps and the deltoids and even the rotator cuffs to do much work here. Integrate deeper toward the spine for the action. Reach your arms up to the sky. And then we're going to come down with your arms, slowly lowering your torso back down. Hands onto the floor, lift up into half splits. So blocks are nice. If you need them under your hands, let's feel the back line of the body. Integrate your glutes. Feel the length. Put the blocks on the very highest height. Extend again. Bring your opposite arm out. So our left leg is in the air. Our right arm is out in front of us. Maybe try the arm out to the side. See if you can have that, relaxed position with the arm. Integrate into the center line of the back body. Feel the core. And then big giant step back. Crescent lunge this time. Arms taking any position that feels good for your body. Release the hands down onto the ground. Step back to dog pose. Breathing well. Hug your hands toward each other. Bend the elbows a little bit out to the side and then swoop them under. See if you can plug the elbows up into the shoulders. Rely on some deeper back muscles instead of your shoulder joints to hold you here in space. So as you bend your elbows a little bit and draw the elbows toward each other, what's working? Lift the left leg up in the air. Exhale and bring that foot forward to a lunge. Climb up, back heel comes down onto the ground. Stabilize in Virabhadrasana 1. Lean forward. Now, if you knew that having your arms up before was too much, try bringing them back. See what you can integrate. So when we take away the long lever, where our arms are closer into our body, we have a little more access to those spinal muscles. So you do you. And then as you're ready, lift on up. Same, you can bring your arms up or you can bring your arms out. You can bring your arms anywhere that feels that you can integrate the back of the body, not losing the integration of the front of the body. Root your feet, engage your glutes. So press both heels into the floor. Find your breath. Integrate floating ribs in. Relax the shoulders. And then bring the hands forward. Come up onto your blocks with your hands. Stretch your leg back behind you. Square the hips, inner thighs roll back a bit. Feel the integration of the floating ribs. If you just kind of hang in space, what's missing in that back line chain? Engage your glutes, engage your hamstring, maybe even point your toe, extend the spine, feel the muscles, and then when you're ready, stretch that other arm out to the side, up in the air, wherever you want your left arm to land. Integrate the back body, integrate the front body. How's your breath? And then release the hands, take a giant step back slowly, crescent lunge, reaching the arms anywhere that feels nice to you. Finding the breath, relax and melt your arms. Back foot comes forward. Grab a block, come up to stand. Hold the block between your hands. But I'm just putting here for a second to show you. When we were doing dog pose before and I had you to bring your elbows out and swoop them under, try to get that same feeling that we're hugging. If I had magic ways, well, I guess you could have two blocks. You probably could, but don't worry about it. If you could hug your elbows as if your elbows had a block to hug against, and the hands too. Plug the elbows back into the shoulders. So we're keeping the heads of the arm bones back in the shoulder joints. Start to lift the block up a little bit. You might get an inch, you might get a few inches. See where you can go, where you can integrate the rib cage into the body, but we're not relying on pushing the shoulder joint out of in a weird position. We're hugging the elbows in toward each other and then hugging the elbows toward the shoulders. Find your breath, gentle hug of the block. Feel the integration of a lot of deeper muscles besides the outer shoulder joint, besides the upper traps. And then relax. That required a fair amount of work with our pecs. So we're just going to roll a few times and just release, let go of some of that front body work. Okay. And then inhale, arms up to the sky. Exhale and fold forward. Relax the spine. Halfway lift, integrate. Exhale and fold. Step back to a plank. Do everything you can to not rely on pushing the floor away. So try it for a moment, push the floor away and feel how much your pecs work. And that might feel like, yep, I know this sensation. And then let go of that sensation and try to bring the shoulder blades a little more firmly onto the rib cage and use the back body, everything we've been working with in that back line, use that to hold yourself here instead of over relying on your chest. Breathe deeply. And then put your knees down onto the ground and come down to the floor. Take a breath. We're going to hover. So our hands are going to be where they are for Cobra pose. And we're going to hover off the floor. So don't go very high because we might get to a point where you feel like you're just dipping into the low back. Integrate the front body. Floating ribs resist falling into the floor. The neck is long. Find your breath. And then exhale and melt back down. Relax for a moment, pick up your feet and rock from side to side. All right, come back up onto all fours. Take that right leg straight back behind you. Integrate through your core again, arm out to the side. See if you can feel that the muscles are not just your deltoids holding you up. Integrate the ribs, integrate the mid and low trap. Take a deep breath in, exhale, and fold your arm in front of you. Tuck your elbow and knee toward each other. Reach the arm straight out in front of you now, leg back. Integrate that back line. Exhale and bring your hand and knee down onto the ground. Right leg is down, left leg is up, right arm is out. Find your breath, integrate the core, soften your deltoids. Try to make the action of holding your arm out in space come from the back body instead of from the arm. Breathe here. Integrate your ribs. Exhale, hug in toward the midline. Inhale, bring that arm and leg long out, integrate ribs. Exhale, and melt back in. Okay, let's go ahead and come down. Actually, let's stand up. Let's do the standing up. Come up to stand. Find some roots. We're balancing now. Grab onto your left knee, stand on your right knee, and bring your knee up. Open up your chest. And then go ahead and reach back and grab your foot. Just stretch your quad here a little bit. So just sneaking in a little balance work while we stretch our quadricep. Lift open the heart. Reach the arm up in the air if you want. Reach the arm out if you want. And start to tip forward to dancer pose. So feeling the back body. See if you can feel the hugging of the back line of the body while integrating the floating ribs in. Arm in the air can go wherever the arm wants, but feel those lower traps marry the rib cage in. Kick your foot, stretch your quads, stretch your flexor, and then come back up. Bring your knee up and place your foot down onto the ground. Other side. Grab onto your right knee, standing on your left foot. You can always hold on to something for balance. And then when you're ready, grab onto the ankle. You can always use a strap. You can always grab your pants. Reach that other arm up or out or down. What's going to help you integrate the back line? Find your breath. Open your heart. As you start to kick your foot into your hand, how is your standing leg knee? Maybe you want to bend your knee just a little bit. So you integrate and make sure you're not hyperextending. Floating ribs integrating to the body. How's your neck? Breathe well. All right, let's go ahead and bring that knee up. Place your foot down. Open the chest again, like we did earlier. See if your tendency to just push your rib cage out. Can you integrate? Can you hug your hands into your lower traps? Feel that the flying out of the front is married by the hugging in through the back. Open your chest, exhale and fold. Grab your elbows, rock around, sway, let things go. Halfway lift. Exhale and melt back down. Step back to a plank. One more time, try to integrate the torso and integrate the shoulders. So we're not relying on our pecs only. Hug the hands toward each other a little bit. See if you can do this without the pecs just taking over. Put your knees down onto the ground and lower to the floor. Decide whether you want to do locust pose with your arms down, palms facing the floor, or whether you want to reach back and grab your feet for Dhanurasana. If you're going to, whatever pose you're choosing to do, whatever back bend you're choosing to do, make sure, because your arms are down, that you're not pushing the head of the arm bone forward. Lift the head of the arm bone back. So you might want to choose a different variation that if you grab on something and you internally rotate your shoulders and they automatically, your humerus bones automatically fall toward the floor, unwind your arms. Keep the external rotation so that the palms can maybe face the ground and you can work toward lifting the heads of the arm bones instead of letting them fall. So that could be a reason not to do Dhanurasana and to stay into Cobra pose. Find your breath. Whatever you're doing, find the full back line. Flex the full back line, integrate the ribs, experience your breathing. Move into the center of your back instead of the outer limbs of the shoulders. And then relax and melt back down. Pick up your feet and sway left and right. Okay, so this one's not for everybody. This will be the end of the back bending, but you're very prepared for this. So if you have a desire to do a full Urdhva now's a great time to try it. So I'm going to face you with my shoulders so you can see what I'm doing with my shoulders. So if you've done, don't do this at home if you've never done this before. But if you know this pose, remember we're trying to integrate the elbows. We're not letting them splay out. So when you come into this pose, you want to have your elbows hugging toward each other and then dropping down toward the earth. So we're keeping our shoulder blades firm on the ground to begin, and then we come up onto our head. And this might be where you end. Elbows in toward each other, elbows in toward the shoulders. And then if you want to, you can lift up. Please don't do this if this is not something that's consistently in your practice, because I can't see any of you. Remember to keep the elbows hugging in and the elbows plugging to the shoulders. So you're working with the back line in its fullness. Breathe. If you are done with that or not doing that, then you get to start changing things around here. And we're going to start on our back. So everybody find your way onto your back, even if you went into Urdhva. Okay, let's all end up here. And let's windshield wiper our knees first. Resist the urge to bring your knees super close to your chest just yet. First, just rely on some twisting to free up and loosen any tension in your spine. Have a strap handy. Okay. Bring your right knee into your chest. Wrap the strap around your foot. If you don't have a strap, just interlace your hands behind your hamstring. And just begin to stretch the bottom side of the back line. Flex your toes, lift your heels, stretch your Achilles, your calf, your hamstring, your glute. Your left leg can be straight on the floor or bent. Okay, and we're going to cross the leg over to the left. Right leg crosses over to left. And come back to center. 2 feet in the strap. Now start to feel the back line stretch open. And then when you're ready, right foot on the floor or right leg on the floor. You decide how you want the pose to feel. Stretch your toes toward your face. Lift your heel up. Try not to push your knee back. Feel the femur bone move back instead. Can you open up the hamstrings and the glutes? And when you're ready, cross the left leg over to the right of it. Begin to feel that outer hip stretch just a smidge. How's your breath? All right, and then come back with the leg. 2 knees not super close to the chest yet. Bring them out to the side and just feel the hips flex just a little bit. And we're going to put our right foot on top of our left knee or right thigh over left thigh. So you decide how you want to stretch the hip here. And feel free to rock. So you can hold wherever you want to hold, the back of the thigh, the front of the shin, or you can hold your foot and your knee. And we're just finding a way to a little bit of stillness or movement, your choice. Put that foot and both feet down and change sides. Left foot on top of right knee or cross left thigh over right thigh and bring your knees toward your chest a little bit. Decide, how do you want your hands to be? Do you want to hold 2 hands on the hamstring or shin? Do you want to have 1 hand on your knee? Or I have 2 hands, 1 on each knee. I'm holding my right knee, bringing it toward my chest. I'm moving my left knee away from my chest. I held it differently on the other side. So decide how is comfortable for you. Do you want movement? Do you want stillness? Whatever you're choosing, choose breath. And unwind the legs, bend your knees, feet flat on the ground. Cross your right arm over your left arm and see if you can hug the shoulders with your opposite arms. Just begin to stretch across the shoulders a little bit. Then change sides, left arm over right arm. All right, and then 2 knees into the chest. Tuck your chin up. All right, and relax your arms down. So you get to decide. You might want happy baby pose. That might be enough to start getting into the back a little bit. You might want, a tucked plow pose where you bring your knees tucked right toward your forehead. I have my knees kind of right on my right above my eyes, and that might feel good for the back line of the spine. Child's pose might feel really good for the back line of the spine. Dog pose, any kind of rounding forward folding posture that you want. You can squat. I mean, really, truly, you can get into so many different poses that can help you round the spine a little bit and open the back of the shoulders all the way to your tail. So anything that feels nice. And now we're going to come onto all fours. I know it's unconventional to get back up. I just want to do the same stretch we began with, we're going to end with. So finding that threading the needle where you can stretch the low traps a little bit, stretch between the shoulder blades a little bit, decide how deep you want to go. Maybe you'd rather come back towards child's pose and stretch the back of the shoulder a little bit more. Just access whatever is needed in your body. And then let's switch and do the second side. However you're ending up twisting. And who knows, maybe you're like, no, I don't feel like doing that. I'm just going to do a twist on my back. All right, and then when we come out of it, everybody come into child's pose. Take your arms down at your sides. Just relax for a moment and take a deep breath into the back line of the body. All right, and then find your way into Shavasana. Now, when you work hard with your back line, sometimes supporting underneath your knees for Shavasana kind of interrupts the full line a little bit so that there's a little more give. So you can rest on a ramp if you want, like 2 blocks with a bolster over top so that your Shavasana is elevated a bit. Like lounge chair kind of Shavasana. If you've been in my yoga classes before, you've seen lounge chair Shavasana where you have 2 blocks like that and the bolster on top and then blankets underneath your knees so that you are, I'm running out of room, so that you're kind of here. This is one nice option. You can even support underneath your forearms with more blankets. Alternately, you can put a whole lot of height underneath your legs as you lie on your back. You can put your shins up on a chair or high on bolsters. So decide what's going to be most nourishing for your Shavasana so you feel at ease. So sometimes we do a lot of work to open the front body for a chest opening, courageous, back bending kind of feel. Sometimes we have to work to stay courageous. That it's not just a matter of having the courage to open the heart, but it's having the courage to keep the open heart. And to keep the open heart, we need a lot of strength in the back of our body. So resisting the collapse, resisting this slump that is so easily had in our minds, our spirits, and our body. So now as you come to rest, relax the body down. Feel the muscles that you've worked, surrender, and drop into the earth. Let the heads of the arm bones sink. Relax your chest, your back, your ribs. Can you feel a melting where your skull is relaxing into the earth? Belly free to breathe. Face relaxed all the way to the base of your skull. Let's begin to deepen your breathing. Feel a moment of just resting your body on the ground, the whole body, from the back of the skull to the bottom of the heels. Let's way into a bit of movement, however you like to transition out of Shavasana. As you come onto your side, be really mindful to use your body wisely on the way up instead of just pulling yourself up. Come to a comfortable seat. For a moment, just place your hands down on your knees or thighs and feel what it feels like to support yourself. Can you have this melting, open heart, this broad, vulnerable chest, deep, fluid breaths, and stability to back it all up? Place your palms together and offer your intentions. Send your love to someone who needs it, maybe someone whose heart has truly collapsed. Can you bring light? Can you bring support? Can you bring love? Namaste. Thank you, everyone.